This video is brought to you by War Thunder.
Good evening. I've always thought that Half-Life 2 is a game that's held up pretty well considering its age. Sure, it's a bit crusty at times, but it's a well-designed game with a lot of charm, and I've personally never thought it really needs any kind of remaster or remake. Some people online disagree with me though. They think Half-Life 2 is a bit ugly and rough around the edges, or they don't like the guns. Thankfully, the game has a famously strong modding scene, so for those people, projects like MMod and Half-Life 2 RTX have come around to modernize it in a tasteful way. But what if you're not looking for a tasteful remaster of Half-Life 2? There's one Half-Life 2 overhaul mod far more infamous than any of the others. A mod so notorious and universally derided that it single-handedly spawned one of the biggest inside jokes in the community and had its creator harassed out of the Half-Life 2 modding scene forever. Today, I want to talk about a mod that was designed to give Half-Life 2 a new, exciting, and cinematic way to play, but was ultimately ridiculed as the embarrassing vision of a man who never matured beyond the age of 14. This is Fake Factory Cinematic Mod. Before we continue though, you gotta know this video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game on the planet, available for both PC and consoles. Take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations, ranging from the biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and battle tanks of the modern day. War Thunder has one of the most sophisticated vehicle damage models in gaming. Things like engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and crew are all susceptible to dynamic damage or disabling from enemy fire, and different types of armor, shells, and missiles behave exactly like their real-world counterparts. You don't need any extra hardware either. You can drive any tank and fly any aircraft with nothing but your good old mouse and keyboard or controller, even in the simulator mode. Whether you're in the market for a competitive wartime simulator or just a more casual arcadey experience, War Thunder has a little something for everybody. So join up and become part of a massive community of over 70 million players worldwide, all taking part in the breathtaking experience that is War Thunder. There's an unmatched amount of high-quality content in this game, and there is no game better suited for fans of military history. You can play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox today using my link in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack on both PC and consoles that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. It's available for a limited time only, so make sure to be quick. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video, but now let's get back to Cinematic Mod. Fake Factory Cinematic Mod is an overhaul for Half-Life 2 that damn near rebuilds it from the ground up. It changes every map, every character, every model, every texture, in an attempt to remaster it to the taste of an eccentric Half-Life 2 modder named Fake Factory. But despite the years I've spent vaguely aware of Cinematic Mod, I'd never actually played it myself prior to making this video. I came into this nearly blind, just hoping that in 2025 I could be more objective and fair about it than a bunch of kids in 2013 were. If we're trying to understand Fake Factory Cinematic Mod, the best place to start is probably the beginning. Who exactly is Fake Factory? Well, his About Me page from 2012 gives us a pretty fair answer.
Hello, my name is Fake Factory. My real name is Jürgen Vierheilig. I'm a 45-year-old man living in Germany. I am self-employed in the IT service business, providing service for advertising agencies. I created the cinematic mod as a practice exercise while I was learning modeling, texturing, and coding. It was never planned as a community project. I just share my work. Some may like it, some may hate it.
Prior to the release of Half-Life 2, Jürgen had history modding other games, apparently producing over 30 maps for the original Unreal Tournament. But, as we know, his biggest accolade would come with Cinematic Mod, created on September 11th, 2005. Now, as tempting as it would be to make a joke about this being a disaster forged on the 4th anniversary of 9/11, what's far more grabbing to me is the realization that Cinematic Mod technically turns 20 years old this year. It was last officially updated to version 13 in January 2015, and assuming this age he never bothered updating on his site past 2012 is correct, that would mean Fake Factory worked on it from the age of 38 to 48, being somewhere around 58 years old today. Perhaps most shockingly, he claims that between purchasing assets and software, the creation of Cinematic Mod cost him around $18,000. Now, it's a common misconception that Cinematic Mod was created to be a faithful remaster or improvement of Half-Life 2, but really any improvements to the game's visuals are merely a side effect. The mod was initially created only a year after Half-Life 2 came out, back when hardly anyone would argue a visual upgrade was necessary. No, the real goal is right there in the title, to make Half-Life 2 more cinematic. In Fake Factory's own words,
imagine a Hollywood producer got his hands on the game. The result would be similar to what Cinematic Mod is, a graphics blockbuster, redesigned from the typical game to a movie adaptation with an orchestral soundtrack and beautiful people everywhere.
See, all this mod really is the product of a single weird old German man using Half-Life 2 as a playground, rebuilding it as something akin to a Michael Bay movie with pretty ladies and crazy lighting effects everywhere. As for why I've never gotten around to playing cinematic mod before, the 50 fucking gigabyte download is probably the most obvious. From what I can tell, torrenting the game is the fastest, then you have to wait 20 minutes for the installer to extract the files, then you can configure the game with the configurator.exe. In the configurator, you can tweak the mod settings, giving you a lot of choice regarding the stereotypical HD redux effects it offers. Lens flares, God rays and bloom, film grain, sharpening, and reshade support. Separate from the configurator, there's also a program called the Character Pimper that lets you customize your experience by picking and choosing character models. Most characters give you the option between 1 or 2 cinematic mod versions or just the default Half-Life 2 models, but the female characters, in particular Alex, get a special amount of love. She gets a huge catalog of, by my count, over 50 models, mostly based on real-life actresses and clothing models. The main one I noticed in the copy I downloaded was Sarah Sampaio, but I've seen other models floating around the internet for ages too. Apparently earlier versions simply had Alex with big boobs and makeup, then later he decided Alex wasn't sexy enough, so he began adding options to replace her with Adriana Lima and the like. I don't have the hard drive space to download every single cinematic mod version to check, but just based on what I've seen online, I wouldn't be surprised if Fake Factory produced over 100 sexy Alex models for his mod. This one of her in a bath towel might be more outrageous than the outright nude ones. These Alex models are also probably the biggest cultural legacy of cinematic mod, because some of them apparently have 3D meshes of her entire genitalia, including a fully modeled cervix. I don't know if it's because he bought these models from an asset store or if Fake Factory is responsible himself, but if you've ever seen someone in the Half-Life community write fully modeled as an inside joke, this is what they're referring to. Anywho, the through line for every version of cinematic mod is Alex models ranging from skimpy to outright pornographic, and a whole lot of midriff. I think probably the funniest thing about it is that Fake Factory claimed he was going to make a more faithful Alex model eventually. He was just waiting on the next Half-Life game to come out first. There is one genuinely kind of cool thing about this character pimper though. You can dynamically change how Alex looks on a chapter-by-chapter basis. Like if you wanted to wear a hoodie when you first meet her, but combat gear during the uprising sections, you can actually do that. I don't personally like that none of the models in the character pimper particularly resemble the characters they're based on. I mean, Mossman looks like a Resident Evil character, Barney looks like Commander Shepard from Mass Effect 3, and Breen is, man, I don't even know. But to my understanding, the characters being unrecognizable is kind of the point. It's supposed to be like they were casted for a movie to be played by real-world actors, or something along those lines. Additionally, if you opt out of using them, the default Half-Life 2 characters turn out to look wildly out of place in the cinematic mod world, so I chose to use the ones the game recommends, and for Alex in particular, I chose the one that looks the most like the Alex I remember. Earlier versions of cinematic mod apparently had more faithful character reskins, but they hardly look any less strange to me. Anyways, once you've put on your porno models, you'll step into the shoes of Gordon Freeman once more, and enter the world of Half-Life 2 like you've never seen it before. Cinematic mod has been around for so long now that, at this point, what was once meant to be a futuristic, state-of-the-art graphic showcase has now become nostalgic in a way. It brings back a lot of memories of when everyone thought color correction, bloom, and lens flares were the secret to next-gen realism. And as for how these technical effects stack up today, it seems to sort of depend on what you set your settings to, but I found them to be a mixed bag. The brightness and bloom work well with the grand skylines, but at other times are completely blinding, especially combined with the flashlight. The lens flares will look pretty cool one moment, then like utter dog shit the next. It's all very spotty. All the level textures have either had this grunge and grime applied to them, or they've been outright replaced with what look like stock assets from textures.com. The music has been cinematified as well. The unique techno soundtrack has been replaced with songs from the Batman films. The weapons have all been replaced with cool action movie looking counterparts, most of which seem to have been lifted from Game Banana. They all sound pretty good too, apart from the AR2, which now bursts my eardrums with every shot. There are random spots where this mod genuinely shines. Cinematic mod is far more visually busy than Half-Life 2, and its new greenery, nature, and skyline sometimes combine with the dramatic lighting settings to create something that's quite impressive to look at. I kinda like the new sundown look Fake Factory gave to Ravenholm too, and the buildings in that town feel more lived in with rooms that have more obvious purposes, more furniture and decor. The heavy Combine units also unfortunately look cool as hell. The Combine would not be as memorable if they looked like this, but they would be more traditionally badass. There's these new vehicle models that look like something out of Stalker and are pretty neat. I noticed that the crane on the coast has a clipboard on it for the operator to read instructions from. At its highlights, Cinematic mod really does give you something to look at, even today. It's especially nice to see parts of Half-Life 2 that were rushed and kind of under-detailed, like the Uprising chapters, get more love. Some levels have been combined as well, which means fewer loading screens. Unfortunately, this appeal is all spoiled by a lot of very stupid decisions. Fake Factory seems to have fallen in love with this particular bush and this particular fence, because they're copy and pasted throughout the entire campaign absolutely everywhere. Maybe it's new lore, some invasive Zen flora that's slowly consuming Earth whole. There's also a lot of weird changes that are very unclear why they were needed. The citizens and zombies look like they're from Squid Game, and the female citizens in particular feel inappropriately dolled up given the circumstances. Sometimes the bodies you'll come across will look nothing like any character you've seen in the rest of the game, just some brand new, totally unrecognizable character laying on the floor. Breen's Private Reserve has also been replaced with Coca-Cola. I guess if Half-Life 2 is now cinematic, this is mid-film product placement. Sexy Alex and dolled up female citizens are not the only place Fake Factory's goonerism bleeds through though. There are pornographic posters and graffiti all over the place in this mod. Even after downloading a fan mod to remove obscene graffiti, I still wound up having to nuke my cinematic mod stream VODs because there were still random paintings and images of topless women everywhere for no real discernible reason. Is everyone in City 17 just jacking off all day? And probably the only thing more outrageous than a fully modeled cervix. In the Black Mesa East chapter, Fake Factory has added a bedroom belonging to Alex Vance, and inside are not just one, but 2 sex toys. Despite my Fake Factory sympathies, I can't defend this. If Booby Alex is disableable, all of this stuff should have been too. The shipyard you come across right after Ravenholm has a bunch of giant crane equipment everywhere, which is a bit strange and distracting. There's also this ridiculous plane crash wreckage he added to the coast for no discernible reason. People complained about it a lot, but instead of removing it, Fake Factory simply moved the wreckage to the water offshore nearby. Oh, and the canals and coasts, and even City 17 to some extent, all have these pine trees absolutely everywhere now. The foliage spam makes it really hard to tell where you're getting shot from at times, which is annoying, and I was personally amused to see that the chapter literally named Sand Traps is barely even sandy anymore. I guess Half-Life 2's Combine were a little too subtle and nuanced for Fake Factory, so he's also gone and made the Citadel shadowy and red so you know they're evil. Cinematic Mod doesn't change Half-Life 2's gameplay as much as something like M-Mod, but the changes it does make are honestly all very bad. There's increased recoil on the SMG and AR2, which basically forces you to use this new iron sight system Fake Factory added, and this laser pointer he added on the pistol throws off my aim quite a lot. Not to mention this added view bob when you sprint sucks so bad. It made me actively not want to sprint in a game where sprinting is actually really important. There's an option in the configurator that's supposed to turn this view bob off, but it just straight up didn't work for me. The vehicles also felt much harder to steer and control. This is all made worse by the fact that there's a bunch of places in the campaign where there's so much clutter spammed everywhere that you get stuck just moving from point A to point B. And similarly, there's way more cars on the road in Highway 17 that you have to move out of the way with the gravity gun. The abundance of HD props and effects in every map also lead to some monstrously long loading screens. I'd never heard anyone actually go into depth on the Cinematic Mod episodes, so I was curious to try them out in particular. In episode 1, Fake Factory adds still green trees and foliage to the explosion-ravaged Citadel, which obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. The construction equipment is also a strange touch. Is the Combine actively paying people to rebuild the Citadel with cranes or something? The van you ride at the start has dash decorations added reading "No free rides, gas or ass," and an anti-patriarchy sticker. The Citadel is mostly unchanged, although the Dark Fusion core room looks pretty cool. The underground segments have the usual lens flare spam and grunge applied, although the city ruins I'll admit look pretty cool. They've got some Halo 3 ODST vibes going on. The clutter and shrub spam is still as terrible as ever though. The episodes are also where you sort of realize why people find it so wrong to sexualize Alex in the way Cinematic Mod does. In the base game, Alex only has a couple, mostly lighthearted scenes, but in the episodes, you're supposed to empathize with her as she goes through some traumatizing shit. Seeing her in an insane sexualized outfit while she cowers in terror from a stalker just feels wrong. Episode 2 is where Cinematic Mod seems to run out of tricks. There's not much anything here worth commenting on other than the changes to the foliage and how Fake Factory sometimes just completely fucking floods the maps with trees. I guess this really was a solution to everything. Just add pine trees everywhere, and when you get to the pine tree game, add even more. This is truly cinematic. The mod totally ruins episode 2's ending, by the way, not only by distracting you with shiny floors and lens flares, but also cutting off the best acting performance in the entire series in favor of this stupid dramatic slow-mo effect. To wrap this all up, in the matter of introducing high-fidelity textures, dynamic shadows, tactical appeal, and film-esque visuals to the Half-Life 2 trilogy, Cinematic Mod is a complete triumph. In being an artistically impressive product, or even particularly sensible though, it's a failure. If you're desperate for a remaster of Half-Life 2, you're much better off playing M-Mod or maybe that Half-Life 2 RTX project coming out later this year. That being said though, if this video made the mod look at all cool or fun, it's because it honestly still kind of is, despite its glaring issues. It does sort of succeed in turning Half-Life 2 into an over-the-top Hollywood movie, or at least a really weird-looking PS3 game. Cinematic mod really doesn't do much in the way of objectively improving Half-Life 2, but I still find Jurgen's efforts kind of novel and admirable. It's interesting to see a guy put years of effort into just redoing a game in his style. It's hard to say how much of it is really his, though. I mean, it's a game that already existed, and a lot of the coolest elements like the Combine and the weapons are seemingly just lifted from Game Banana mods, and I have no idea if Fake Factory got permission or not. The gameplay isn't very good either, but it is an entertaining excuse to replay Half-Life 2, which I'm always looking for. If it wasn't 50 gigabytes, I'd say any Half-Life 2 fan should check this out, just to have the experience under their belts. It is a bit of a historic mod after all. I think people might have gotten a little too comfortable disparaging this project too. It's guilty of bad things, don't get me wrong, but nothing other mods for other games don't also do. There's tons of popular Half-Life 2 mods that disrespect the source material by redesigning and reanimating things for no reason, adding shit that looks totally out of place, sexualizing Half-Life 2 characters. And it's not like the mod is totally lacking in redeeming qualities. If nothing else, it was one of the first Source Engine projects of its scale, and it helped inspire other modders like the creator of MMod. I also feel like some people online must be playing up how much this mod disgusts them too. I mean, really, how different is Cinematic mod from the average Stalker or Fallout 4 mod list? I've never been a modding nut, but I've been around long enough to know that it's rarely ever vanilla-friendly mods that wind up super popular in any game community. You don't have to look far past Half-Life 2 to see that the Fempyro has been the #1 most downloaded TF2 character mod for the better part of 20 years now. What is video game modding if not people trying to make shit look cool, sometimes failing, and sometimes getting really horny? And how much room does the guy who made HL2 really have to be making fun of Fake Factory? The Fake Factory might have put titties on Alex, but you drew full sprite animations of a Caco demon sucking dick. I didn't forget. Turning Alex into Adriana Lima is stupid. Not giving people advance warning that you've added boob posters and sex toys to your remaster mod is too. And I'm definitely not saying you're not allowed to laugh at or criticize Cinematic mod, but this is far from the worst thing to come out of the Valve community. And honestly, if you understand what Cinematic mod is and try to not treat it as anything other than a German guy's weird free experiment, it's actually a decently fun and entertaining experience. I don't really think Fake Factory deserved to be harassed off the internet for making a weird, kinda bad mod. He never told you he was making a better Half-Life 2, just a cinematic Half-Life 2. And it's not like he scammed anyone or forced his vision on them. In all those regards, something like Hunt Down the Freeman is definitely much worse. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check out War Thunder now for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox, and use my link in the pinned comment or video description to register. Those of you who are new or haven't played in the last 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack on both PC and consoles, including multiple premium vehicles, in-game currency, and more.